Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're taking a fascinating journey today through Psychology Today UK Online.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
It really is. Covers so much, mental well-being, personal growth, relationships, family stuff.
And their whole aim is like health, help, and happiness info.
Yeah.
Practical stuff.
Exactly, practical insights. Plus, they've got that therapist finder tool, too.
Right.
So today, what we've done is we've sort of handpicked some recent articles, all from April 2025.
Just a snapshot, really.
Yeah, a curated snapshot of what's current, what people are talking about in psychology right now.
Think of it like a quick update.
A shortcut.
Okay.
Get you up to speed on a whole range of topics without, having to scroll through everything yourself. Okay, let's dive in.
Let's do it. Maybe start with regret, something we all deal with sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
Jordan Grummett, MD, wrote one called Turn Regret into Purpose Before It's Too Late.
Interesting title.
Yeah. And the key idea, I think, is how those really deep regrets, the ones we maybe try to ignore, they can actually be like powerful fuel for making big life changes.
Okay, so not just something to feel bad about.
Exactly. He frames it more like regret shows you an unmet value.
An unmet value. I like that.
Yeah. And figuring out that value, that could be the first step towards, well, a new purpose.
That really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? We usually just see regret as, negative, guilt. But thinking of it as a clue to what really matters to you.
Right. So the question isn't just, what did I mess up? But maybe, what does this regret tell me I care about?
That's powerful.
Precisely. And the article probably gets into how you move from knowing that value to actually doing something purposeful.
Right, not just wallowing, using it. Okay.
Okay, so pivoting a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk parenting. Always an odd topic.
Oh, yeah. Daniela Owen, PhD, wrote one called In Defense of Punishments.
Ooh, that word, punishment. It's definitely loaded, isn't it?
It really is, especially now with all the talk about positive parenting.
Right. But Dr. Owen, she points to research suggesting that logical negative consequences.
Logical consequences. Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, like actions directly tied to the misbehavior. You break a rule, you lose a related privilege, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And the research suggests this can actually be helpful. Reduce misbehavior, maybe even improve parent-child interactions.
So the takeaway isn't about being harsh or using fear.
No, not at all. It's about creating a clear link, action, outcome. Helping kids learn responsibility, understand the impact of their choices.
That makes sense. It's a bit different from the purely positive reinforcement angle we hear a lot about. It offers another perspective.
Exactly. It kind of encourages us to think about structure, boundaries, how they help kids develop self-discipline.
Okay, right. Shifting gears now, completely different direction. Nature.
Ah, yes. Forest bathing.
That's the one. Daniel Fryer. Sounds incredibly relaxing.
It does, doesn't it? And there's some interesting science behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Fryer suggests that even like 20 minutes of mindful meditation in a forest.
Just 20 minutes.
Yeah. Can significantly boost both physical and mental well-being.
Wow.
The key seems to be just being present in nature, engaging your senses, the smell, the sounds. It apparently reduces stress hormones, lifts your mood.
20 minutes sounds almost too simple. Is it just the quiet or?
Well, there are a few theories. One is about these things called phytoncides.
Phytoncides?
Yeah, airborne chemicals trees release. They've been linked to better immune function, less stress.
Huh. Interesting.
And just the sensory experience itself, it promotes calm, shifts your focus away from worries. It's a good reminder, isn't it? Sometimes simple connections work wonders.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk about ambition. Jeff DeGraff, PhD, makes the case for ambition.
Right. Ambition often gets kind of a mixed reaction, doesn't it?
For sure. You hear about burnout, toxic competitiveness.
Those are definitely risks. But DeGraff offers, well, a different take.
Okay.
He suggests that ambition, if it's aligned with your values.
The if.
Right. If it is, it can be a really crucial driver for personal growth, for reaching your potential.
So healthy ambition. Not just ruthless striving.
Exactly. It's about aligning your drive with what you genuinely care about, using it to fuel, meaningful growth.
So it really comes down to the why behind the ambition. Is it internal, wanting to learn, contribute, or is it more about external pressure, comparison?
That's the reframing. Seeing it as potentially constructive, an engine for self-improvement.
Makes you think, what are my ambitions? Are they rooted in my values?
It's a good question to ask yourself after reading that piece, I'd imagine.
Okay, let's tackle something a bit more complex now. Psychiatric diagnosis.
Right, and we've got 2 related articles here, both involving Mark L. Ruffalo.
Yes, one's a guest post by James Barnes, Relational Minds, Diagnosis, and the Fallacy of Internalism.
And the other is Ruffalo's own, In Defense of Psychoanalytic Diagnosis. For the contrasting views, it seems.
Sounds like it. What's the gist of the first one, the Barnes piece?
Well, Barnes argues that traditional diagnosis tends to focus too much on what's happening inside a person, their thoughts, feelings,
Right.
and maybe not enough on the role of their relationships, their social world, their environment.
Like looking at a wilting plant just by its leaves, not the soil or sun.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking beyond just symptoms to the wider context.
Okay. And then Ruffalo's piece argues in defense of diagnosis.
Exactly. He emphasizes that, look, these diagnostic categories, they do help identify real patterns of problems people face. And they give us a framework for guiding treatment, for research. It's useful.
So you can see the tension there, understanding the individual versus needing categories for practical help.
Absolutely. It touches on the bigger picture of mental health care. How do we balance understanding individual complexity with the need for broader categorization?
It's a tough balance. If you only look internally, you might miss external factors that need addressing.
Right.
But if you dismiss categories entirely, does that make it harder to find effective treatments for specific issues?
Precisely. It highlights this ongoing debate. It needs a nuanced approach.
Okay. Let's move into politics, often a bit charged.
Definitely. Kenneth Barish, PhD, wrote about the toxic emotions underlying our political divide.
Timely, unfortunately. The divide feels pretty wide.
It does. And a key takeaway from his article is that, well, our political views might be more rooted in gut feelings.
Gut feelings, like what?
Underlying emotions.
Yeah.
Fear, anger, maybe resentment. Rather than just pure rational analysis of policies.
We like to think we're logical about it.
We do. But Barish suggests these deeper emotional currents are really powerful in shaping our beliefs and driving those divisions we see.
That definitely feels true sometimes, doesn't it? People seem to operate from such deep emotional conviction. Makes dialogue hard.
Very hard.
So if toxic emotions are fueling the divide, how do we even start to bridge that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Barish's perspective hints that maybe just arguing facts isn't enough.
Right.
Perhaps we need to acknowledge and somehow address those underlying emotional drivers first.
A much bigger challenge. Okay, let's delve into some tricky interpersonal stuff now. Bill Eddy, high conflict emotional warfare.
Yeah, he talks about high conflict people.
What defines that, according to him?
It's really about a pattern of behavior, a tendency to blame others, think in really rigid black and white terms.
All or nothing.
Exactly. And struggling to manage their own emotions, often leading to extreme actions or reactions. If you connect it to, like, personality styles, it's about recognizing these recurring conflict patterns that cause a lot of turmoil.
It sounds like people who get stuck in conflict cycles find it hard to collaborate.
Pretty much.
Recognizing those patterns, like Eddy suggests, could be really useful, both for dealing with others and maybe recognizing bits in ourselves, too.
Absolutely. Stepping back, observing the dynamic, not just getting sucked into the argument itself.
Right. Okay, moving to something really important. Intergenerational trauma.
Ah, yes. Donna Jackson Nakazawa. Healing trauma makes us better parents.
That connection across generations is powerful.
It is. And what's really insightful here is the link she draws between healing our own past traumas
Yeah.
and our ability to be more present, less reactive, more connected with our own kids.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense.
If you think about attachment theory, how early bonds affect us, unresolved trauma can definitely ripple into our parenting.
So working through our own stuff isn't just for us. It helps break potentially negative family patterns.
Exactly. It creates a more secure space for the next generation. It's quite a hopeful message, actually.
It is. So what would be some first steps for someone wanting to start that healing journey?
That's a big question, but often it starts with just self-awareness, acknowledging the potential impact of the past, and then seeking support is often key. Therapy, support groups, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Let's turn inward now to our own thoughts. Leon Garber on overthinking. Overthinking isn't as helpful as you think.
I think a lot of us can relate to that one. Minds racing with what ifs.
Definitely.
But Garber challenges whether all that mental churning is actually productive.
Oh, how so?
He suggests it can sometimes come from a place of, like, self-importance. This feeling we have to analyze everything, control every outcome.
Interesting take.
And the key takeaway is that this constant mental effort can become a real burden. It fuels anxiety, stress, makes decisions harder.
So all that effort we think is preparing us might actually be holding us back.
That's the idea.
It's a good reminder. Sometimes trusting intuition, letting go of perfect control, might be better than getting stuck in thought loops.
Exactly. It makes you question the motivation behind the overthinking. Is it real problem solving, or maybe fear, or needing certainty?
Good point. Okay, let's touch on a really basic human need, belonging. Paul J. Dunyan, In Search of Genuine Belonging.
Yeah, and he highlights a challenge in modern life.
Which is?
Increasing estrangement, isolation, felt by families, individuals. He really underscores this fundamental human yearning for authentic connection, a sense of truly belonging.
You see that connection to social psychology, right? How vital that feeling is for mental, even physical health.
Absolutely vital.
And it's a poignant point in our digital, often spread out world. Those genuine face-to-face connections, feeling seen, accepted, they're still essential.
They really are. The article probably explores how to cultivate that deeper sense of belonging.
Makes you wonder, where do I find that feeling? In which relationships or places?
It's a valuable question to reflect on.
Okay, let's move to a skill we can all use. Listening. Valerie Hoover, How to Listen Like a Therapist.
Therapists are definitely the experts there, aren't they? Creating connection through listening.
Absolutely. So what does she suggest?
Well, she outlines 4 key skills therapists use to really tune in and connect.
4 skills, okay.
And the powerful thing is, these aren't just for therapists. They're practical skills anyone can learn to improve their own relationships. Partners, friends, family.
So actual tools for daily interactions, going beyond just hearing words.
Exactly. The article likely details those skills and how to practice them.
It's a good reminder. Effective communication is so often about listening well, maybe more than talking well.
Spot on.
All right, let's explore love. Egram Alpes-Bakova, Intense Love Can Awaken Us, A Path to Transformation. Sounds profound.
It does. Alpes-Bakova explores how deep, intense love might actually heal old emotional wounds
Really? Heal them?
and catalyze significant personal growth. That's the idea. These profound connections can challenge our old, maybe unhealthy patterns, open us up to new ways of being.
Like the relationship acts as a mirror, showing us where we need to grow.
Kind of, yeah. Reflecting back areas needing healing, it's a hopeful view of love's transformative power, even when it's, difficult.
It makes you think, have any relationships in my life really pushed me to transform, even the intense ones?
It's a compelling question raised by that perspective.
Now let's think about timing. Sam Goldstein asks, how do we know when to bloom?
The rhythm of growth.
Exactly. What's his take?
He suggests we flourish best when our internal readiness kind of lines up with external opportunities.
Inner and outer alignment.
Yeah. He encourages paying attention to those subtle signals inside us and in our environment. They often hint when it's the right time for a change, even if we feel a bit unsure.
So tuning into intuition, but also being aware of what's possible around us.
Right.
It's kind of comforting, the idea of natural timing, not always having to force things before we're ready.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot where inner desire meets outer support.
Okay, technology's turn. Artificial intelligence. Cornelia C. Walther asks, brain rot, does your chatbot increase the risk?
Brain rot. That sounds alarming.
It does. What's the concern?
Walther explores potential downsides of constant tech interaction, using that term brain rot. But she also offers a more nuanced view.
Okay, it's not all bad.
Not necessarily. The
Yep.
crucial thing, she suggests, is how we engage. If we're intentional, mindful, we can potentially transform the online experience for the better, not just passively consume.
So it's about the quality of engagement, not the tech itself being inherently harmful.
That seems to be the key takeaway. Being mindful, intentional, mitigates risks, maybe even unlocks benefits.
Makes you think, how mindful am I with my tech use? Could I be more intentional?
Good questions to ask.
And staying with AI, Soren Kaplan looks at boost work success. Psychology can enhance the power of AI. So AI and human skills at work.
Right. Kaplan argues success in an AI world isn't just about the tech. It's fundamentally about leveraging key human psychological skills.
Like what kind of skills?
He highlights things like critical thinking, adaptability, creativity, interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
Basically, uniquely human stuff. He names 4 core ones essential for thriving.
So even with smart AI, our human abilities remain crucial. Problem solving, creativity, dealing with people.
Exactly. It's reassuring, isn't it, for anyone worried about automation taking over everything?
It is. It's about complementing AI with our distinct human strengths.
Precisely. Understanding how we work with it.
Okay, let's shift perspective again. Neurodiversity. Jessica L. Pineau, moving from autism awareness to autism acceptance.
This reflects a really important shift in understanding.
What's her perspective?
It's a personal one. She emphasizes that autism is a natural variation in how brains work. It should be accepted, understood as a difference, not something needing a cure.
Right. Embracing neurodiversity.
Yes, celebrating the unique strengths and viewpoints autistic individuals bring.
It's about building a more inclusive society, isn't it? Valuing different ways of experiencing the world.
Absolutely.
So how do we move from just awareness to real acceptance?
Well, education is key. And really listening to autistic people's own experiences. That fosters genuine understanding.
Good point. Okay, back to family dynamics. Jeffrey Bernstein, 3 glaring signs your adult child acts entitled.
That can be a tough one for parents.
For sure. What are the signs he mentions?
He outlines key behaviors suggesting an adult child might feel, inherently owed things.
Right.
But importantly, he also says parents don't have to keep enabling that dynamic. Setting healthy boundaries is possible.
So practical advice for parents struggling with this. Establishing clear expectations, letting adult kids take responsibility.
Exactly. Encouraging independence, accountability, healthier relationships in the long run.
Makes sense. Now, perfectionism. Alice Boyce, 5 mistakes people make when trying to create perfect plans.
The perfection trap. Many of us fall into that.
Totally. What are the mistakes?
She outlines 5 common pitfalls. But a key takeaway is that the fear of making a mistake or not having every single detail perfect can actually lead to procrastination. It stops us from even starting.
How ironic. Trying for perfection leads to inaction.
Exactly. It's a reminder that progress often means embracing imperfection, learning as you go, not waiting for the perfect plan that never comes.
So sometimes good enough and getting started is way better than waiting for perfect.
Spot on.
Okay, a more personal piece now. Jennifer Sarch. A non-story story. The everyday miracle of pain relief. About a spinal cord stimulator.
Right. And what's really powerful here is how she shows the huge impact effective pain management has on just everyday life. Things others take for granted. For someone with chronic pain, getting relief can feel like a genuine miracle. It restores their ability to just engage with the world.
It really highlights the importance of medical advances, doesn't it? The hope they offer for conditions that are often invisible or underestimated.
Absolutely. A reminder of hidden struggles and the transformative power of the right medical help.
Now, here's a refreshing one. Val Walker, interruptions and surprises can be good for us.
That sounds counterintuitive in our scheduled lives.
Right. But she argues that unexpected moments, surprise, wonder, small joys interrupting the routine.
Yeah. They can actually help build resilience, especially when things are tough.
Okay, how?
The key, she says, is cultivating openness, being receptive, noticing and appreciating these positive interruptions.
So embracing spontaneity a bit more, seeing interruptions not just as annoying, but as potential boosts.
Exactly. Finding silver linings, shifting perspective. It builds inner strength.
Interesting. Okay, athletes and pressure. Laura M. Meal asks, why do athletes get burned out?
Burnout seems increasingly common in sports.
It does. What factors does she explore?
Lots of things. Demanding training, relentless pressure to perform, blurred lines between personal life and sport, the huge emotional investment.
It really underscores the need to look after athletes' mental and emotional health, not just physical training.
For sure, for their long-term well-being and, actually enjoying the sport.
Makes you wonder what systemic changes could help protect athletes better at all levels.
That's a critical question the article likely prompts.
Let's consider positive emotions again. Mitchell B. Leister. How gratitude heals from within.
Healing from within. That suggests more than just feeling thankful.
Right. What's the idea?
Leister explores the intriguing possibility that gratitude might affect our physiology, maybe even play a role in cellular healing.
Wow. Cellular level.
It's still an area of research, obviously, but it points to a powerful mind-body connection. Thoughts, emotions, physical health, all linked.
It really motivates you to make gratitude a more intentional practice, doesn't it, for overall well-being?
Definitely. A reminder of the impact of our internal emotional state.
Okay, leadership. Kyle Emanuel Brown on the authority illusion. He emphasizes something beyond just confidence.
Right. What's more important than projecting confidence, according to him?
Deep, genuine self-trust.
Self-trust. Okay.
He argues that cultivating self-reliance, inner conviction, that enhances true authority, resilience, and effectiveness much more than just appearing confident. So leading from inner security, trusting your own judgment, not just relying on external validation or a title.
Precisely. Authentic leadership, rooted in self-awareness, a strong internal compass.
Okay, shifting to a very serious topic, Joni E. Johnston, the case of accused parricide killer Nikita Kasab.
Yeah, that delves into a very dark area.
What does the article explore?
It looks at this tragic case, a teenager accused of killing his mother. It raises critical questions about the underlying psychological factors. What could lead to such extreme violence, especially in adolescence, dealing with huge changes in stress?
It's a really stark reminder of human complexity and the need for ongoing research into these devastating outcomes.
Indeed. Underscores the need to identify and support those at risk, develop effective interventions.
Right. Now, James V. Cordova has a really thought-provoking title. If You're Lucky, It's Your Fault. About relationships.
That definitely grabs your attention. What's the argument?
He argues that if we always blame our partner for relationship problems, we actually give up our own power, our agency to make things better.
How so?
By taking responsibility for our part in the dynamic, even the negative stuff, we empower ourselves to be part of the solution.
So looking inward at our own contributions instead of just pointing fingers, it gives you more control ultimately.
Exactly. Shifting from blame to empowerment and proactive change. Powerful idea. Okay, fear of criticism. Stephen Stosny offers advice on overcoming a fear of criticism. Very common fear.
Very common. What's his advice? He suggests the best way to lessen its impact is to focus consciously on acting according to your own core values.
Your values, huh?
Rather than constantly seeking external approval. When your actions align with what matters internally, others' opinions have less power over your self-worth.
So, building internal validation. Living authentically based on your principles, not driven by fear of judgment.
Precisely. Building self-esteem from the inside out.
Good advice. Now, team dynamics. Michael Allison. Why fight-only teams collapse under pressure?
Fight-only teams. What does that mean? Teams that mostly rely on a confrontational fight approach to problems.
Okay.
Allison explains they often lack flexibility. They need more adaptability for high-pressure situations where just fighting doesn't work or makes things worse.
So successful teams need a wider toolkit, different communication styles, problem-solving approaches.
Exactly. Diverse skills. The ability to shift tactics. Resilience comes from having more than one way to handle things.
Makes sense. Okay, Shirley M. Mueller helps distinguish between cluttering and hoarding. Are you a clutterer or hoarder?
People often use those terms interchangeably, don't they?
They do. What's the key difference?
Mueller clarifies. Both involve accumulating stuff.
Yeah.
But cluttering is more about disorganization, trouble managing belongings.
Right.
Whereas hoarding is recognized as a distinct psychological disorder. Persistent difficulty discarding things, regardless of value, causing significant distress and impairment.
That distinction is really important, knowing when it's about organization versus needing professional psychological help.
Indeed. Recognizing the spectrum and the different potential causes and treatments.
Okay, attraction. Janice Vilhauer on the magnetic power of emotional maturity.
Ooh, intriguing. What makes emotional maturity magnetic? Vilhauer argues that qualities like self-awareness, empathy, managing emotions well, taking responsibility. These are increasingly seen as key to lasting attraction and strong relationships.
Yeah.
More appealing long-term than superficial traits.
That's a great perspective. Focus shifts from outward appearance to depth of character for real connection.
Exactly. The enduring appeal of inner strength, resilience, empathy, self-awareness, and relationships.
All right, physical and emotional connection. Rachel Diamond. How to improve your physical and emotional connections.
Both aspects are crucial in a relationship.
Definitely. What's her main point?
She emphasizes nurturing both physical intimacy and deep emotional presence for strong relationships. Feeling lonely within a relationship often comes from lacking one or both of those connections, physical and emotional.
So, needing both physical affection and genuine emotional engagement, feeling seen, heard, understood for true intimacy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Being fully present with your partner, physically and emotionally.
Okay, nearly there. Nick Morgan reminds us of complexity in the 15 forces that motivate humans.
Just 15. Sounds simple, but probably isn't.
Exactly. He reminds us humans are complex. Many interacting factors drive our choices, actions. That complexity makes communication rich, fascinating, but also hard to fully grasp sometimes.
A good reminder to approach understanding ourselves and others with curiosity. There are always layers.
Indeed, appreciating the depth of psychology.
And finally, an encouraging one. Randy Anbar, The Life-Changing Power of Self-Regulation Tools.
Self-regulation, managing ourselves better.
Right. Anbar encourages exploring self-help tools and techniques, things that empower us to actively manage our well-being by developing better self-regulation skills.
What kind of skill?
Our ability to manage emotions, thoughts, behaviors effectively.
So practical strategies we can learn to improve our lives. It's a hopeful note to end on. We have agency.
Exactly. Empowering you to take proactive steps for your own growth and well-being.
Well, that was quite the journey, a really comprehensive dive into recent insights from Psychology Today UK.
We covered a lot of ground, didn't we? Regret, parenting, nature, AI, emotional maturity, so much.
Absolutely. Our goal was really just to give you a concise but hopefully thorough overview of some current conversations in psychology.
Maybe spark some aha moments, offer some valuable perspectives for your own life.
And if any of these topics really struck a chord with you, we definitely encourage you to explore the Psychology Today UK website further.
Yeah, you'll find much longer articles, self-tests, even that therapist directory we mentioned. Lots more to explore.
So as you go about your day, maybe take a moment to reflect.
Yeah, think about this. Out of everything we talked about today, all those fascinating themes, which one feels like it might have the biggest impact on your well-being or your relationships or just how you see the world?
It's definitely worth considering those insights, perhaps exploring them a bit more in your own life.